By Jamie Hepburn, 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. When considering the motion before us, words almost fail me. Because the motion submitted by the SNP and, of course, the political knockabout surrounding it is historical revisionism at its very worst. At the SNP conference, the First Minister, no less, said that the SNP government has confirmed the claim of right will be taken to Holyrood to allow parties to rededicate themselves to its sentiments about Scottish sovereignty. Now, I don't know about you, Presiding Officer, but I'm a wee bit confused. The dictionary definition of the word dedicate is, and I quote, to commit oneself to a particular course of thought or action. So, Presiding Officer, for someone to rededicate themselves or their party to something, they must have, of course, dedicated themselves to it in the first place. So, certainly, Mr Hepburn.
Jamie Hepburn.
I thank Mr Finlay. Forgive me, he do well to remember he's not in the classroom now, isn't he, to give his definitions of particular words from the dictionary. However, I'm interested to his definition of the Labour Party's position in the claim of right previously. If they had such faith in the people of Scotland to assert their claim of right, why did they rule out a constitutional option at the time? Independence.
Neil Finlay.
Mr Hepburn, you just have to wait your time because I will come on to these matters. So for my friend and colleague Joanne Lamont, there will be no problem in her carrying out the act of rededication because, of course, as chair of the Scottish Labour Party in 1988-89, she signed the claim of right on behalf of the Scottish Labour Party. The party, of course, that went on to deliver devolution in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. But the SNP did not. Begging the question, yes, Mr Brodie.
Chick Brodie.
Stand. At that time, the Scottish Labour Party, of course, being a component of the overall Labour Party. I wonder if he would care to comment on the statement by the erstwhile Labour Prime Minister Tony Blair, who refused to endorse the claim of rights, in fact went on to say, sovereignty remains with me as an English MP, and that is the way it will stay.
Can I say on this, I am willing to listen to Mr Brodie, because as a Liberal Democrat at the time, his party leader would have signed the claim of right for him, so he's got at least some consistency on that matter. But of course, Presiding Officer, you can't rededicate yourself to something you never signed. And now, from its early days, from its formation, from its time of James Keir Hardie right up until Donald Dewar became First Minister, and indeed to this day the Labour Party has always been the party of devolution. Labour supported the Convention, delivered this Parliament with the backing of Civic Scotland and the support of the Scottish people, and sought to strengthen it through Calman. And Labour will engage fully in any debate over further powers. Our approach, unlike the historic, sulking, spoilt brat attitude of the Nationalists, has remained consistent over a long period of time, as has our mission of social justice. And of course the SNP, no thank you, I've not got time. The SNP are, of course, all things to all people. On one hand, they speak as Social Democrats. Indeed, Mr Salmon, only 2 nights ago, proclaimed that Scotland could become a beacon of social progress. But on the other hand, wants to slash corporation tax, wants a low-tax base, light-touch, deregulated economy, and infamously enthused about Thatcher's economics policies. So let's not take any lectures from the most cynical opportunists in this chamber. Because when Labour, the Lib Dems, the STUC and numerous individual trade unions, businesses, Civic Scotland, churches were signing up to the claim of right, they were sitting outside holding hands with those well-known progressives, Michael Forsyth, Malcolm Rifkind, Bill Walker and the late Sir Nicholas Fairbairn. At this time of year, the words "a parcel of rogues" spring to mind. Presiding Officer, the very people who dedicated themselves to the claim of right and then went on to vote for this Parliament did so because they wanted protection from the dark forces of conservatism, should that party ever be returned. They wanted a bulwark against the inevitable attacks they would experience under a Tory government. In David Torrance's book, the First Minister himself is quoted as saying, prior to the establishment of Parliament, I quote, "If we had a Scottish Assembly operating in Scotland today, even the type proposed by Labour, the political situation would be a great deal brighter. The institution of the Scottish Parliament could have provided the bulwark Scotland needs against Tory economic policies." Well, here we are again, under attack from the Conservatives. And is this Parliament acting as a bulwark? Is it standing up for Scotland on the real issues? I have to say that in many instances the SNP government are accepting and replicating the cuts, but only this time they are using them as the part of their strategy for independence. The Parliament could be working as a bulwark, It could be arguing for an alternative, but it doesn't. No, I've no time. This morning, Labour brought forward business on vital issues such as kinship care and our bus services, very important issues. But this Parliament is often rightly criticised for being irrelevant to the lives of ordinary people, and this afternoon I have to wholeheartedly agree with that criticism. Whilst people of Scotland lose their jobs at £200 a day, college students fear for their ability to secure a course or a bursary, supply teaching in crisis, nurse numbers cut, child poverty spiralling, and the social housing budget cut by a third, what are we discussing? Whether or not to reaffirm to something that the governing party didn't sign up for in the first place. Presiding Officer, I want to move on to serious debate about serious issues. And that is what we're paid to do in this Parliament. Let's get back to that and let's stop this opportunist nonsense.
Thank you very much.